My gosh. I just can't even. I just can't even imagine what farmers go through. This is another level, and I'm doing nothing. I'm doing 12 feet by 16 feet.
As a chef, probably the most important thing is having really good food to work with. Now you can run to a local farmer's market, and we're pretty far up north, so those are only really ever good in the summertime. You can find a specialty grocery store, but honestly, the best way and the most traditional way is just to make and grow your own garden. Now I have pretty limited knowledge on growing anything, or even just making a garden in general. Our last house in Chicago, I did make 2 raised beds, and things were really starting to grow, except by the time we moved, nothing was ready to be picked. I missed out on everything. And I remember, just growing up, always just having a garden, whether we had tomatoes or green beans. And the house I was born in, off Kingsley in Detroit, we had this raspberry bush on the side of the house. And I remember, maybe being 4 or 5 and just taking a bite and being like, this is the best thing ever. Like this raspberry, it's the best. It's better than anything you're gonna get in the store. That's what makes this so fun. And this is a total journey for me. I'm very, very new to this, but to make sure I get it right, I'm bringing in the big guns.
Hi, I'm Pam Parisi.
And I'm Bill Parisi, and we're Chef Billy's parents. My mom and dad taught me how to garden. When I was a child, they had vegetable plants all over the garden. They had a detached garage, so the majority of their garden was behind the garage. A lot of tomatoes and peppers, green peppers and green beans they grew.
And my dad grew up on a farm, so I think that farming came to me easily because I helped him in our yard too.
Growing up in Detroit, my father first would start his seeds in the basement. He would save his containers that he bought in the spring, and he would put potting soil in there, and he would save the tomato seeds and the green pepper seeds, dry them out on paper towels, and then plant them in February. He had a little shelf by the basement window, and every morning he would take them and put them up, and the glass would magnify the sun. So once the thing started to sprout, probably in March or April, he would go around and just to find stuff on garbage night, and he found some windows. So he built the box like a hothouse. He built the box and built some shelves, and he had put them in the backyard. So the sun, with the heat and the sun magnified the seeds, and he had his own plants instead of buying them.
Yeah, he was pretty ingenious that way because he didn't have nobody taught him how to do these things. He just kind of figured them out himself. And I must admit, I learned all my canning techniques actually from my mother-in-law, because back then with 5 children, not a lot of money, they had to produce a lot of their own food and can everything while in season when it was reasonable.
Billy wants to start a garden, so he asked us if we would help him start one. And we are going to do that, and he will learn, eventually. And I hope to pass that on to him. So he'll stay on top of it and be able to show you, the viewers, the reaps of his harvest.
So now that I have this new place, I've got a decent side yard back there. I mean, at least bigger than the one I had in Chicago, and it's fenced in. So my goal is to make a 12-foot by 16-foot garden, not a raised bed. I know I've got a lot of work to do though. Does that sound good? Let's garden? You're definitely going to need some sort of tools. You're going to need a few shovels, a few hand small shovels, and a couple little tools. And for me, for some reason, I put all the manure and soil in the garage. What I need to do now is just transport it straight out to the back.
And yes, I have super pale, skinny legs.
So the first thing we're going to do is we need to measure out 12 feet by 16 feet. Then we have this little thing, it's called a paint wand. You put spray paint on the bottom and it sprays it out. So we're going to spray some corners here. And then my dad, he's going to draw a straight line and connect the corner. Well, obviously it's not too straight, but it's going to be fine. We're just going to cut into it, no problem. All right, now we have this. We're going to grab some shovels, and what we want to do is essentially just bring up all this sod. But I'm not going to lie, I played with this sod last year, and it has definitely grown and solid into the ground.
All right, so apparently the ground is super hard, and I know that Indiana is a lot of clay, and it's weird because so much of the state is agriculture. But my mom says we need a sod cutter. We're going to be here till tonight digging this spot out, so we're going to go grab one of those, or at least see if we can.
Score, my friends. They actually had one of these at Crown Point Rental down the street. The guy gave my dad a little bit of tutorial. Then we loaded it up into the truck and we brought it back to the backyard here. This thing's really hard to push though.
This ground is as hard as rock. They might as well have blasted it back here, but I talked him into getting a grass cutter, and so we can pull that up a little bit easier. So hopefully this is going to work, but it's tough ground.
And maybe we didn't listen quite as well as we should have because, yeah, we can't figure this thing out at all.
Yeah, how many people does it take to learn how to make a sod cutter? 2, obviously. We watched a video. I think we're good. Let's see if we can get it going.
Success! Yes, we finally got it rolling. It does take a lot of pushing and pulling, but it cuts the sod up super easily.
Unbelievable. Thank God we got that sod cutter.
I didn't even know what that thing was until they told me. I mean, I'm drenched, dripping in sweat. This is much harder. This is the workout for the day.
How about, does Billy listen to his parents? No. We told them, do not put the grass in last year, but does he listen to us? No. And we even said, hire somebody to take out the grass, and he said, no. So we're doing it ourselves, and I'll tell you one thing, I don't want to take any more grass out because it's too hot here. And we're pooped already, and we're not even half finished.
The next stage was pulling up all that sod and putting it in the corner, and sod is heavy. So we were using a couple of my knives, no, not my kitchen chef knives, cutting it up into smaller pieces, just transferring it over to the side. Hopefully someone on Facebook or Craigslist will come pick this up. Hey, it's fresh sod.
I already saw some worms in the dirt, and that's always a good sign because that's what you want.
There's really important things to remember when you're gardening or just starting out. The main thing is the soil. The soil has to be good and rich and fertile.
Now, I remember doing quite a bit of research in Chicago because I wanted to make sure I got the soil blend right. So I ended up going with 40% garden soil, 40% manure, and 20% perlite. Now I'm going to stick to that same thing because remember, I started to really see some great results. Although I didn't get to try anything, it looked really good. I want to at least try to emulate that. But there are 3 things that a garden absolutely needs: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. This is what your vegetables and produce are going to suck up from the ground. The first one, nitrogen. This is a major component of chlorophyll. This is the compound by which plants use solar energy to help produce sugars from water and carbon dioxide. Remember that word, photosynthesis? It's also a major component of amino acids, which are the building blocks for proteins. And essentially, without proteins, all these plants will just wither and die. The second one, phosphorus. This helps the plant to make new roots. It'll also make new seeds and bear fruit, flowers, all that good stuff. It'll also help your plants fight some diseases. The last one is potassium. This will help your plants grow new, strong stems and help it keep growing fast. So to help ensure we have good soil, we have to rototill. And oh my God, this is way harder than I thought. It's like skipping across cement on that Indiana clay. You lean back and you hold tight. Your thighs, your quads, your traps, and your lats are going to get a serious workout when doing this, but it will start to break into it the more that you do it.
My gosh. I just can't even imagine what farmers go through. This is another level, and I'm doing nothing. I'm doing 12 feet by 16 feet. Farmers, I salute you. This is insanely hard work, and like I said, we're doing 12 feet by 16 feet. You guys do fields and fields and fields of stuff. So, thank you.
So after that short break, my dad and I were rotating using this thing, and we would go down 4 to 6 inches to get in there, and we found a big chunk of wood. My mom said to grind it up, that it would just grind in there with the soil. My dad told me to throw it out. But the crazy thing is, you actually never know what you're going to find. I mean, who knows what was here before? I found a golf ball. It actually had a white smiley face on there. So hilarious. So you might find some treasures when you're digging into your garden too.
Okay, I think we're done tilling. Whoever invented the rototiller, bless you. Thank you. Looking good. Now we are going to move on to manure. We're going to add the manure in there. Now what manure does is, remember that potassium, phosphorus, and nitrogen? This is what's in manure, and this is what's going to we're going to till that first right into the soil and make sure all that goodness is in there.
So the goal here is to cut the bag open and then spread them out as best you can, all on top of the soil.
It's going to help really put more nutrition into this dirt, because this dirt doesn't have any right now. So, and it's just going to help your plants grow a whole lot better. So we're going to open these up, put them down, and rototill it in, and then we'll do our next bags of, I don't know, compost that we have too. So good old cow manure.
My dad said it was important, and I'll understand this later why, to spread this out as best you can, because we're going to rototill it one more time, and it's way easier if it's evenly distributed from the beginning.
Okay, you can see we're obviously still sweating. What we're going to do now is add in kind of like the garden soil. What that's going to do is help keep the ground nice and moist and help kind of deliver everything that's in the manure and hold it in there for all the plants and everything. So, oh, I'm just so tired. This is crazy. It's really hard work, but a couple more things and we'll call it for today until tomorrow. So a couple more things still.
Very similar to the manure, the same thing is being applied to the garden. So we're just cutting the bags and we're spreading them out as best we can all over the garden. And then we rake it in with the manure totally fine, completely spreading it across the entire garden.
Last thing, this is like, can't even see out of this eye. I don't know what's in there. Manure. Awesome. Last thing is perlite, which is just a natural occurring mineral, and it helps with aeration so that drainage and all those good things can happen, so the soil and the dirt doesn't stay waterlogged. So that's the last thing we put in here before we till it.
I'm on repeat here, same exact thing. Spread this perlite all over. Once it's spread, we're gonna grab the rototiller and oh my gosh, this is like swimming. I mean, we're just cutting through this like water. It's amazing. Once all those good soils are in there and the perlite, it grinds up with ease. This is much more fun to do than at the beginning when I'm over there skipping across this clay.
The hard work is done. Now
It's time for a drink.
it's time for a nice cold beverage.
and a nap.
Oh my gosh, just dropped off the rototiller, the sod cutter. I'll tell you what, that was a hard of 4 hours of labor that I've ever done. Restaurant industry, doubles, 2-a-days and water polo in high school. I mean, oh my gosh. Seriously, so grueling. The day one's in the books. I mean, tomorrow we're gonna frame it out and plant our seeds. Obviously, the hardest part is done, and my shoulders. That was really hard, and I can't say it enough. Just big ups to the farmers out there and just anyone doing this. I know it'll be worth it, and I know the hard work is over. But that 4 hours, that was something. That was something. No joke. All right, we are on to day 2. We made a pit stop at the hardware store, got a couple things, got our wood to sort of frame everything in and have it into sections. I want it into 4 sections, maybe vegetable, fruits, I don't know. Some of this I'm probably not even gonna plant in this year, but just wanna have the option for future. But oh my gosh, my shoulders are on fire today. I literally just like rolled out of bed. I couldn't even get up, my abs, everything. What an intense workout. Today should not be that bad. But yesterday was intense.
Well, yesterday probably was the hardest part of the 2 days that we're working on the garden, just because the ground was so hard and it took so long to just rototill through all the hardness before we put in the good stuff. And today's going to be much easier. It's not as hot, and we've got lots of seeds to put in, but this is going to be an easy day. This will be nice.
You think I'm Italian, Sicilian? Look at this guy. Tank top, gold necklace,
That's right. It's like a bad episode of The Sopranos.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to make a deal or we're making a garden. Let's figure this thing out.
So we've set up our wood. I'm using 2x6s of treated wood here. I think I'll probably stain it at some other point. We're just gonna screw in the corners. We did 2 separate sections just like this. I mean, you can see it perfectly. Then we screwed them together. This was just to make it easier. And what my dad wants to do is rake into the corners to make sure all of it is completely spread out and really filling in the entire garden here. So what we did at this point is we wanted to cut this in half again. So I wanted 4 sections. So each section will be 4 feet by 12 feet. That way I can sort of organize the planting a little better. And the same thing, we just screwed them in using 3-inch screws.
Okay, everything's framed in. It's just a little bit smaller than the hole that we cut out. So we're just gonna kind of scoop any of that goodness on that other side back into the middle of the garden area. And then we have some extra sod pieces. We're just gonna fill in that side. My mom says that any other little areas, don't worry, the grass will grow there. So we'll be good. We're getting closer to seed time.
My dad also thought it would be a really good idea just to add a few more bags of potting soil to each section that we plan on planting in. And I actually don't know that much about seeds, just to be completely honest. So a lot of this is going to be trial and error this season. But I remember my mom always saying, use heirloom seeds. And what I do know about heirlooms is that those are vegetables that have been grown from seeds that have been passed down at least 50 years or so. Now, a lot of people believe heirloom vegetables were introduced before 1951, and that's before plant growers starting making hybrids. So let's add some stuff to the ground, see how it goes. Pray to the Lord for lots of sun and lots of rain. Let's go.
All right, so we're trying to make a game plan on here on what to plant. We have so many different seeds here. I know my mom said just let's see what we have, but I think we're just going to start putting stuff in and labeling it, and well, I guess we'll know in a few months if any of this works. See what happens.
And then we'll take the beets, the carrots, and let's try the cabbage.
So I'm actually going to set up a few tomato wires out of the gate because I actually bought some tomato plants at a fair the night before. I just thought it would be good to get these things going.
So when you first take the plant out of the container, you want to loosen up the dirt on the bottom to kind of start loosening the roots up a little bit. It'll help it take hold a little bit quicker. So get that in the ground. And this is our first plant that we plant. Okay, we're going to start our cucumbers here over in the corner. And we're going to put some kind of trellis in. You can build your own if you'd like, but we bought ours. And this way the cucumbers will have something to grow up on because they will get heavy. But we're going to kind of tie these together and for a little bit more sturdiness. And then we'll plant our cucumbers in this corner here.
And my mom said really the biggest thing to do here is just dig a hole maybe 3 inches to 4 inches down. You don't need to go any deeper than that, and sprinkle in your seeds and cover it up. Now what she did say to do is over sprinkle them. Guess what? It's better to have too much than too little and nothing work. She said as they would come out, and I haven't seen this yet because they haven't grown yet, is to thin it out so that the plants could have room to grow. And really, we just went back and forth in rows until it was planted. Then it came time for the beans. My mom said it would be an awesome idea to soak them in water for at least 30 minutes or all the way overnight. That will help the process go that much quicker. And then we just finished by planting more.
Everything is planted. I made a little diagram that kind of has where everything is at, just because, you know, stuff blows here and there, and I don't want to miss out on, you know, maybe I forgot where something is planted, so I made a little diagram on where everything is. But now we're going to kind of set up a little, I don't know, like a soaker hose with a little timer, so every day it'll get some water in there in the morning time, and really, I think we're finish line is around the corner here, so we're getting close.
We ran the soaker hose underneath and sort of spider webbed it all around. You can see the water trickle out, and we are done. This thing is loaded with tons of delicious fruits and vegetables. I cannot wait to see what pops up here.
All right, now we've got everything in, but I have no clue on the maintenance, how to maintain this thing when it relates to water, sun, pulling stuff up. I have no idea. Who wants to take this, Mom or Dad?
I'll take it. You need to water every day for 2 weeks, for at least an hour a day to saturate the ground. Then this is with a sprinkler. Once the ground is saturated, you hook it up to the soaker hose and you run that for an hour a day in the morning. This will produce good crops. With the proper sun and the proper temperature, you should be rolling in veggies here in about 2 months.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I learned most was you can make this as extensive or simple as you want. You can spend as much money on a garden as you want or as little as you want. If you live in a great part of the country where the soil is already fertile, you don't need soil and all the perlite and all the other stuff that I added. It's just that Indiana is just jam-packed with clay, and rototilling that thing, my shoulders are still killing me. So I think that's probably the biggest thing that I learned is, do what you want and spend what you can or want on it. Make it as crazy or as small as you as desire. And I definitely understand what my parents said earlier. You love to see the harvest at the end because the work at the beginning is insane. Like, it's 2 days of exhaustion, and it is. But again, you can make it as crazy or simple as you want. So you're obviously going to need to come back for part 2 so we can see how the garden's doing. I also, hopefully by then, I want to plant some fruiting trees, maybe cherry, apple, pear. I don't know. I need to talk to this guy and see what I can actually do up this far north. But for now, if you want to learn how to use all those vegetables that are going to be coming up, hopefully, you have to check out my pasta primavera recipe. It's so good, so simple. Lots of fresh produce. You'll love it. See you on there.